So we're starting off here with our default controller, class myPages extends CI underscore controller, and we have our constructor function here. So the constructor function runs before everything else. It's a little housekeeping before you get into the other methods of the class. And what I've done is I've added in here, so if there is no session user data language, then we're going to set the user's language to English right here. So if the user was here for the first time, they're getting their session set, but they're not going to have anything set for their language, and we looked at that variable last time in the database. So if this isn't set, there's nothing there, then we're going to set the user data, we're going to set the language to English, and just assume they speak English. Later on, if they change that drop down box to French, then they get their user data set to French, and this gets overwritten. So we can go to our main function here, which is index. So if the people just visited like this page, right, like that, or they take off myPages even, well, we know that this is our default controller, myPages, because we set that in routes.php, and the default method is this index one right here. And what we're doing here is we're loading in our header, and we're loading in our main view, and loading in our footer. So let's take a quick look at those. Let's start off with include/view header, and inside here I'm using HTML5 boilerplate. So what I did was basically just went to HTML5 boilerplate. That's you can just type that into Google, HTML5 boilerplate, and you're going to get basically, this is not an MVC, it's just like HTML and JavaScript files and stuff like that, and you can download it. And what I did was I just grabbed out the header and footer parts of that, and I put the header parts into my header.php right here. Some of the more important bits here is I'm including jQuery and jQuery UI. Actually, I'm not using jQuery UI in this one, so I could take that out, but I often use jQuery UI, so I just left that in there. And this other stuff is comes from boilerplate. One interesting thing I have here is for the title. Well, first I'm just checking if this title variable is set, and if it is set, then I'm going to use the title, and if it's not set, then I'm just have this default value of nice title. So this is a nice thing to have in your header files, which means like we could pass inside our controller, we could pass this header as a second parameter. We could pass it here data, right? And then inside somewhere here we have data, and then we have for example the title. Okay, so if we set data title right here, and we set that to some title, well, after that, when we put data right here, this is going to get passed into the view. And even though I just have data right here, we're setting the whole array, and inside the view this data.title is going to be accessible like $title. Okay, so let's just remove these now and go back there. So basically our header file is set up so it could have a title passed in, but if it doesn't, then we're just using this default as of nice title. And we have the same thing going on with the description. It can be passed in, but it also has the default value. And I think that's all I want to talk about for the header. And let's go to the footer, and that's all there is for the footer. I guess that's still important nonetheless. So let's close those guys up, and you see in the middle here we have view myPages. It's not being passed anything, and so let's take a look at it. So at the start of this, the user language is being set to whatever the user data language is, and this is always going to have a value here, because remember in our constructor function we set one here if they didn't have one, but probably they'll have them if they visited this web page before. And after that, I'm using this right here, which is this lang load. I'm loading in contact form underscore, and then concatenating on the user language, and then the second parameter is user language here too. So basically, you can see this is going to be this is going to be either a value of English or it's going to be about a string value of French. And we're going to store that inside user language here because that's easier to work with. And then here is the start of our language class stuff. Let's talk about this line here. This lang load method, and inside we have contact form underscore and then concatenate on the user language, and the second parameter is the user language too. And this is referring to if you go inside your application folder, then under go to language, and then I have two folders here. I have English and French, and I created the French one here, and inside the English one we have this, just make this a bit bigger, we have contact form English lang.php, and the French one has contact form French lang.php. And these file names are pretty important because they match up here. So here you'll notice, like right now we'll have contact underscore form underscore English, and then this I believe is referring to the folder name that they're in. So this is also going to be English. So if we look to the left here, we'll see we have our inside our application folder we have the language folder, and then we have the English folder here that matches with this, and then basically this contact form English, in our file name we're going to add on underscore lang. Okay, but here we don't need to add on underscore lang, and it's important that they are like that. So this doesn't have underscore lang, but this does. Okay, and once we do that, it has loaded it into our view here, and we can now use it. Okay, the next thing we're doing is we're setting the form attributes, and basically just giving an ID to my form, contact form. I talked more about the form helpers in a previous video, so if you don't understand what this means, or if you don't understand what that means, just look at my form helper from before, or else my register and login video. And here we have echoing form errors. So this is connected with the validation class. So we have an input field with the name of sender name, and we have a text area of sender message. And if there was any server-side validation errors, we are going to echo out the error here in these two places. What we're doing now is we're creating two arrays, data name array and data message array, and this is preparing some of the attributes. This is the attributes that's going to go on the input field, and these are the attributes that's going to go onto the text area one. So name, we're giving a name of sender name. Value is set to this lang line name value, and ID is set to sender name. We use this for jQuery to grab a hold of it. There's other ways in jQuery to get a hold of it, but I just put this ID on there for convenience. And you'll see here that under value, this lang line, there's no, it's not specifying here whether it's English or French, but it doesn't need to because we've done that up top here when we loaded it in, and we got the language from their session, and then we concatenate on there, so we already know which language we're working with. So here we just need to use this line right here. So that prepares the attributes for those two things. And let's go down here now into our contact form. So if the user language is set to English, then inside this select right here with the name of language, we're going to display the two options. But we're going to put the English one first, and we're going to put French one second. Okay? But if it wasn't English, then we know it was French, and we're going to show these options, but we're going to show the French one first and then the English one second. And this basically just has to do with usability. I mean, if you're a French user and you've already said it's French before, and then you go back to the next page and you see English on the top, well, you're going to think there's something wrong with the site because you didn't remember what your language is. So this is just for usability, and it's just better design for the site. And if we keep going down here, we have the H1 of contact us, and then we've just put our contact form inside a table here, and the first table data cell that has the ID of name, and we are echoing out the name right here. So basically this is going to get the value of the name, whether it's English or French. And if we go over to the form here, we can see that a lot clearly. Clearly, right here we have the French name. If we change that to English, that's name and message. Go to French, it changes to the French versions. So that TD cell, this is what we're referring to right now. And we keep moving along here. The next TD here we have the input, the form input, and we're passing in that data name array, which has got all of its attributes. So the form input gets all of its attributes from right here. And sort of the same deal with message. We're getting the message label tag that's appropriate to their language, and the text area, and it's getting attributes passed in an array right here. The last thing we have here is we have this form submit right here, and this is the type, is the submit, or perhaps this is the ID. Let's check. We can go to the source right here, and we can go down to our submit. So here we have type of submit, and a name of submit, and then a value of send. However, that value gets overwritten. Right, submit, and then go French, and it's soumettre. So basically that's all that works. The last thing we have here is div ID of validation errors, and I use this for JavaScript. So if we have some front-end validation errors, we can they're all going to get placed in here. Whatever JavaScript errors we generate, we're going to place them inside this div. You can also do without this div. For example, like in jQuery, instead of putting this if you don't want that extra markup in your document, you can do that too, and then you'll just create that element using JavaScript, and then place place whatever error message you want into it. But for my case, I just left in there markup, and that works fine too. And then finally, we're closing the form. So basically that's everything that's going on in our main view right here, and in the next video we'll get into the code a little bit more.